Hello everyone, I hope that you are doing well today, and in this video I am going to be making some dessert out of the rhubarb that I have growing, and then I'm going to be making a stir fry with some of the greens that I have growing outside. Some of the plants that I had planted in the last video of the garden video have started to come up, and it is the shellin peas and the radishes, and a lot of the other plants that have been growing for a little bit now have been starting to grow like crazy, such as the cucumbers and the tomatoes and the kale, and I am just very grateful that things are starting to come up. I always love to see the sunflowers pop up. It is the best feeling to see them grow, and to me it just feels like the beginning of summer now that they're starting to pop up. I think it's really cool. And so the way that I harvest the rhubarb is I just pull them just straight up, and I kind of do a little bit of a twist if they are too difficult at first to just pull up directly out. And I am aware that my rhubarb does not look the best, and so part of the reason I wanted to harvest from it is that I'm hoping that this will help allow it to grow more. I think what I'm gonna plan on doing, maybe at the end of the summertime, near fall, I want to get it into a bigger pot and hope that it will start growing better once I transplant it. And some of the greens that I'm going to be harvesting for the stir fry is endive, kale, and since the bok choy had went straight to Bolton, which is essentially that it's going to start seeding and not go to produce, I am going to harvest the leaves and have that in the stir fry. I was reading online that they are edible and you can eat them, and so I thought, okay, why not? Because the leaves are pretty big and there's quite a few of them. And with the endive, there is a lot of that, which I am very grateful for, and they seem to be growing very well. I know last year I had issues with growing them, but this year they seem to be thriving. I had started the seeds inside instead of just directly having them outside. So that may have helped and that may have made a difference. And I have 2 kale plants in my covered raised bed, and the one is a little bit bigger than the other one, and it is growing very well. The leaves are really big and it is a very healthy plant. Kale is probably like one of my favorite things to grow, and it's something that I want to grow like all the time, every year, and I don't know if I had grown any last year, so I'm gonna try to make it a goal. Oh, and then the other thing that I'll be harvesting too is the spinach. I didn't show that on camera because they're very small, and I wasn't really pleased with how they were growing because they were kind of going straight to a Bolton stage as well, like pretty quickly. And so I think the weather may have just kind of messed them up a little bit, but it's okay. I had harvested that, and then the other thing that I'm harvesting are the garlic chives. And now I am going to be cleaning them off and just rinsing them and getting all the dirt and just, little insects or whatever there may be. There really wasn't many. It was like a couple of ants were on the rhubarb leaves, and other than that, there really wasn't anything on the plants, and they were all good. It's part of the reasons why I have my brassica plants in the raised beds because um, the first year that I was here, I was able to grow them fine. It was cabbage and kale. And then the next year and then years after that, I wasn't able to grow them outside anymore without them being covered. And so having the raised bed is very helpful. And so I'm cleaning off the rhubarb and everything else, and I'm going to go right into cutting the rhubarb. I want to be able to make the dessert first and then make the stir fry afterwards. I thought that the dessert would take a little bit more time in the oven so that then everything would be done together, like with the dinner and dessert. But it did cook quicker. And that was just due to the fact that I didn't have a lot of rhubarb to work with. And so I kind of made a dessert that was not really um I guess you could say a particular, like, you look up and it tells you exactly how to make it kind of dessert. I kind of had to make it up on my own in a way, and I had to go off of 3/4 of a cup measurement to work with how much rhubarb I had, and then I was able to look up online and sort of figure out like a recipe that I thought was fitting. It's almost like as if you're making an apple crisp, but instead it's with rhubarb. And I could have used a smaller um, container to put in the oven now that I look back, but overall it worked out perfectly fine. And I can put down the ingredients that I use down below in the description box if you're curious about like how I made it overall. But essentially it's like what I said, it's like as if you're making an apple crisp, but you're just using rhubarb instead. And I will say, this didn't turn out too bad. I kind of wish I had more rhubarb so that I could get more of um, like flavor with them. Because when I ate it, I will admit, I will say now, when I ate it and tried it, when it was done, it didn't really taste like rhubarb, or it didn't really, I couldn't taste it at all, is what it seemed. Um, but, yeah, it just had, it just, I wish I had more rhubarb, I guess, to work with to get more of a different perspective with it. And so essentially, I mixed up the sugar and different ingredients for the bottom layer with the rhubarb, and then on top, we're making the crisp, essentially with like oats and brown sugar. And I do add some cinnamon and nutmeg. It was saying you could do um, cinnamon or nutmeg, and then I thought, oh, I'll just do a little bit of both. I didn't put a lot of nutmeg in just because it is pretty strong. I will say once I added the butter into the topping mix, it did come out to be a very interesting texture, and so when I went to go and put it on top of the rhubarb, I sort of was trying to crumble it up and make it all spread out evenly. And so I allow that to be in the oven for, I think it was around 25 minutes or 20 minutes. I can't remember exactly. I can put it down below if you are curious. And so this is the part where I am cutting up all of the greens. I have the pan warming up, and I'm also going to be putting some ground turkey into the stir fry. So it's going to be mainly a bunch of greens and then the ground turkey. And then the other thing that I will be adding is the garlic chives, so that will give it a little bit of a different flavor as well. And so the first thing that I'm cutting up are it's the endive, which is essentially a type of lettuce, and it just has that little curly texture at the end of the lettuce that kind of makes it a little different. So the first thing that I will be doing is browning up the ground turkey before I put anything in there. And once the turkey is brown, I am going to be putting the garlic chives in afterwards. And later on, I will say I do put in some garlic and onion powder seasoning into the mix, and that's just purely due to the fact that the greens they do need a lot of seasoning on them because they will have a very earthy kind of taste, especially when you have them homegrown, or at least that's the experience that I've had. But I will say at the end, the stir fry turned out really good, and I kind of wish I had a little bit more ground turkey to go with it, because I feel like I had a little bit more greens versus the portion of the turkey. And so I do think that it still turned out really good regardless, but it did get ate very quickly in our household. And so, right around the time that the turkey was starting to turn brown a bit, is when the dessert was ready. And as you can see, a lot of it was starting to caramelize, and it got on the edges and around the pan. And I think it wound up tasting pretty well, and I was okay with it. And so this is the part where I am adding the garlic chives into the pan, and I allow that to kind of sit there for a couple of minutes. And then right here is where I had harvest the spinach. There wasn't really a lot of it. I had winded up taken out one of the plants and just cutting up the whole thing. And then the other one is still in there because that one is starting to bolt. And I think it would be cool to get some seeds from it, but I don't know if I will, just because it is starting to become a little flimsy. And so now I am adding all of the greens. Now I know it looks like a lot, but I knew that it would simmer down very quickly. And so I wanted all of them in the pan, like all at once. And so I just kind of let them sit there for a bit and let them simmer down. And so I also add some olive oil and some lemon juice, just so that they have a little bit of movement for when they go towards the bottom of the pan and everything's not like sticky. And I do add olive oil and salt in the pan as well. And when I do all of the other seasonings, I'm gonna wait until everything is cooked down, and then eventually I will turn down the heat, and then that's when I'll add the other seasonings. So the first thing that I'll be adding is some soy sauce, and I allow that to get mixed up, and I also add some more lemon juice as well, and I just allow that to sit there for a couple of minutes and just let it simmer. And so I will be adding some sage, some chili powder, and some peppered flakes, and then the garlic and the onion powder, black pepper, and then more soy sauce if I need it. And I don't put a lot of salt or any more in than what I already did at the bottom of the pan, because I know that the soy sauce is pretty salty, and I just didn't want to overdo it. And the main reason that I will go back and add more, because that's what I'm about to do, is because the greens, they do have a very like earthy taste to it, and so I just want to make sure that I can get some good flavor in there, but also not overdo it as well. And so this is the part where everything is done. Dinner is done, and I got my dessert done. And this was a very easy and quick meal. The only thing I wish I would have done was made some rice. I assumed that we had some in the fridge, but we didn't. And so, in the meantime, I wanted to try the dessert. And so this was the first time of me trying it. And like how I said earlier, I didn't really taste the rhubarb. It wasn't anything like of a crazy taste. It was actually pretty good and I liked it. And so that is the video. I hope that you enjoyed it and thank you for joining along. I will see you in the next one. Have a great week and bye-bye.